wave hello to all of our ladies watching from home, too? Say good morning. We're so happy for them because they get to be with us as well. And you all at home get to be in your comfies for this. So we are jealous of that as well. All right, guys, welcome to the day. It is International Women's Day, and you all look spectacular. I told my husband, I talked to my husband a couple of weeks ago for a Galentine's event, and I said, I was leaving, he goes, you look cute. Why do you look so cute? Aren't you going to just a women's thing? And I said, oh, honey, girls dress for each other. We do not dress for the boys. So you come to a women's event and people are looking good, and y'all certainly are. We could not have today and all be together without our wonderful sponsors for the day, so we would love to shout them out and thank them as well. Hold your applause to the end if you would. I'm going to read off the list of all of the wonderful companies and folks who have made today possible. We would like to thank Sonic Automotive, Charlotte Lately, Tom Bush Law Group, Lake Norman, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram. Boy, y'all quieted down for some sponsors. You love to thank people. I love it. Tyndall Subaru, State Line Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, Ram, Fiat, and Pinpoint Patient Recruiting. Thank you all so much for being here. All right. Are we ready to meet our panelists? Now, 6 lovelies, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves because they will do that best, I believe. Ladies, I would love to hear from you, your names, 3 fun things about yourselves, facts that you think people would like to know. If you have a fun fact or a stupid human trick, feel free to include that. And in particular, because of why we are all here together this morning, we would love to hear if you yourself have been directly or indirectly affected by cancer and how as well. I will start here with my microphone buddy.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay? All right. Otherwise, I'll just yell. I'm Colleen Odegaard. I'm delighted to be here. I am a life coach. I am a podcast host. Yes, life coaching is a real thing. I know it sounds dodo, and you're like, what's a life coach? It's really a thing, and that's what I do now. I was in media for 30 years. I worked 22 of those years, worked at WCNC TV. Thank you to the one person who used to watch me, who I heard of. Thank you so much. It's overwhelming, your support. And I am not Maureen O'Boyle. That happens to me at least once a week. So I swear to God, once a week someone will say, oh, you're the lady from TV. And I go, yes. And they say, oh, gosh, yeah, I watched you the other night. Maureen, it's so nice to meet you. I'm like, all right. Colleen Odegaard, close enough, whatever. But I'm delighted to be here. Touched by cancer, I think, sadly, I suspect in a room this size, I'd be surprised if anyone in this building hasn't been touched by cancer in some way. So, yes, I have directly. I've lost people I have loved to cancer, and so that's why this organization is near and dear to my heart. But I'm just glad that you're all here today.
So I'm Alyssa Weiland. I am from Charlotte, and I grew up here. I own Chef Alyssa's Kitchen, where I've had that open for over 8 years. I teach fun, interactive cooking classes, as well as offer some to-go meals. Prior to opening Chef Alyssa's Kitchen, I worked my way up through for many years in restaurants. I've tried many different forms of art before I really gravitated toward culinary. Something that amazes me about working in, and having my business is the diverse groups of people that I get to connect with and how much joy cooking brings to people. I'm thrilled that I get to do that and directly connect with people instead of having the plate be the intermediary, and I love that. I, for sure, have been affected by people that have, battled cancer. Most recently, though, I have great stories of, coming through, and my uncle, my father-in-law, both recently battled forms of cancer and have, God willing, come through. So that's wonderful for the advances that we've created. So I'm happy to be here. So happy to be here.
I'm Sydney Cummings. I am a personal trainer here in Charlotte. Founded the company Royal Change with my husband, one of the few men here this morning, Dustin. We started out on a mission when we moved to Charlotte in 2014 after a couple kind of bad years of just trying to get fitness out to the world for free, no barriers. So we have a YouTube channel, just over 1.3 million followers or subscribers, and we've grown that into a media company where we have a membership. We just launched our own fitness apparel line, and we've been able to give out over 500 million free workouts to people all over the world. Just continuing that mission is our growth strategy, I guess, trying to make sure that fitness doesn't come with barriers, whether that's financial or proximity to a gym or gym intimidation or you just don't have time. So we've grown that over the past 4 years with plans to keep going with our fitness apparel line. Have I been touched by cancer? Yes, I am very blessed to say that the people in my life that have been touched by cancer are survivors. So what an important, like Alyssa said, important advancement in all the funds that we're raising today to help that continue to happen. So thank you guys for being here. Thanks for listening to our stories, and I'm excited to get started.
Yes. Hello, beautiful people. Can y'all hear me? I am from Bada Bing, Bada Boom, Brooklyn, so I know how to project. Oh, yes. Hello, beautiful ladies. So very honored to be here, to be on this panel with women that I adore, that I've met today, but it feels like a sisterhood. I am Ohavia Phillips. I am an activist, a talk show host, podcaster, and I'm a serve-fluencer. So, you know, we know the term influencer, but I prefer to serve first. Show up for your community, show up for your, yes. I believe in showing up for communities. I believe in showing up for our youth. So I do a lot in the city with anti-violence with our youth here, with women, a lot with the Afro-Latino community. But for people in general, I love people and I love showing God's love. I love being the hands and feet of Jesus with big energy. And my dance moves, I have a secret. Actually, that's one of my things, Paige. I am a dancer. You know, if y'all want to clear the floor, I got something for you. But I am so very honored to be here. I have been touched by cancer, but the good news is both my grandmas, actually on my father and mother's side, are survivors. And this is why this is very near and dear to me, because I went with them to every chemo. I remember talking to my grandma while in college and also while I was pursuing my career and also going to grad school and seeing my grandmother go through that. It was tough, but happy to be on the upside, happy to be with you all, and I'm so honored to be here. Love y'all so much.
That's a tough one to follow. I'm Pam Stowe. I'm probably the oldest person in the room, but anyway, I don't care. I grew up in eastern North Carolina. I've been in Charlotte a long time, and we were supposed to think of something interesting about ourselves, and I lost my very, very best friend in my whole life to cancer when she and I were both 35 years old, and I'll never be over it. It was very, very hard, and I miss her every day still. And remarkably, my husband lost his two best friends in the past 12 years to cancer, and they were younger than we are. So anyway, our lives have been deeply touched. So I'm so proud to be here. So proud. Thank you.
Hi, I am Michelle Eichard. I am a writer. I write about raising teenagers primarily. I have a couple books, and I write for CNN and a couple other national outlets about parenting. My sort of stupid human trick that has nothing to do with my professional life is I love TV so much. And once a month, my friends and I get together, and this is so weird that I'm telling you this. We dress up like characters from our favorite TV shows, and we post it on an Instagram account that is just for fun and no other reason. So, and I currently have a very dear friend whose husband is going through cancer for the second time, and so I'm thinking about them while I'm here today.
Oh, thank you all. All right, I am going to stick with Michelle, I think, here for the next question, although we're really going to also try to get Ohavia to come out of her shell. So if you guys could just encourage her, and she's going to try not to be so shy this morning. Okay. I want to hear from these ladies, and I know you do too, about specific women, because today the theme is in the company of women, right? So women who maybe have affected your lives positively and just changed your world in some way. And Michelle, I'm going to start with you. And we're just going to share this mic. Are we agreed that this sounds the best right now for everybody? Perfect.
Okay, so I was thinking about this question, and these are women who you don't know and never will know, but as a kid, I was a pretty feral little kid, and my house didn't have a lot of reliability, and so I looked to my friends' mothers for how to do things. So I have so much respect for the families with moms who brought me in, and I remember just little things like my friend's mother showing me what a melon baller was. That is not important or significant, but to me it felt like, oh, she's really teaching me stuff. This is so cool. So the women who I think of are just the women in the neighborhood and friends of my, or parents of my friends. I would go to their house and they would sort of wrap me up like I was their own. So that's my answer.
Thank you. The two most influential women in my life were my mother and my grandmother, and they were amazing. And I'll never forget when I was a young teenager. You know, that's when you're all worried about everything. And I had a disappointment, as we all did when we were 13 and 14. And my mother took me by the shoulders and looked me right in the face, and she said, Pam, you're a winner. You've always been a winner. You will always be a winner. Don't forget it. And that was, I mean, I'll never forget that, of course. Like she said, it just gave me so much confidence. And then the second thing, you got to remember this if you don't remember anything else, because it really works. My grandmother, who's absolutely wonderful, said when you walk into a room, especially when you don't know everybody, like today, or a party or a meeting or any group, walk in with your shoulders back and an expression on your face like you know the best secret in the world. It works.
I love that. I love that. I love that. Two women would definitely be my mom. I love my mom so much. So I'm one of 5, and she was a single mom and a registered nurse. And I just watched her day in and day out give us the best. She kept us in the best art programs, in swimming, all the things. But my second favorite lady is my 5th grade principal. Her name was Miss Otumba. She was a Jamaican woman, an immigrant. And I remember I called myself trying to be like the cool kid and follow the bad kids. And one day she came up to me. She was like, oh, hey there, y'all know better than that. And I said, I do know better than that. But I just remember I was never allowed to do what everybody else was doing. And so I'm very grateful to Miss Otumba and very grateful to my mother, because all those sacrifices led to the success that I have, and I'm blessed, very blessed by it.
So when I think of who inspires me, it was hard for me when thinking of this question to narrow it down. I came up with kind of a category of the resilient woman. And I know by show of hands in here, how many people have gotten through something terrible in the past couple of years? Yeah, past 5 or 10 years. So just the resilient woman, the woman that goes through things as we all do, and we overcome in some way that makes sort of our life a tribute to the tragedy. Our founder here this morning, I think, is the biggest example of that. I mean, overcoming something and making it your life's mission, I feel like is the most beautiful thing you can do to come out of tragedy. I think of Allison Felix, the most decorated Olympian or female Olympic athlete of all time in the track and field world. Just recently left her contract with Nike because of the contract restriction when she got pregnant. And being 25 weeks pregnant myself, I'm like, that girl stood up to Nike. And now she created her own shoe line. Nike has since redone their contract restrictions for maternity. So now you can have 12 months of maternity leave as a Nike athlete. And I just think that's a huge tribute to her standing her ground, her saying, you know, I'm worth this. Out of tragedy came something great for future Nike athletes, and she created her own shoe line out of that. So just the resilient woman who takes something that's really tough and overcomes it in a way that can make their life a tribute to the tragedy.
It's amazing. Man. Well, I took this question in the direction of who changed my life. Of course, inspiring women. You know, even now as a mom myself, having my mom and thinking about all those things that she told me and realizing, oh my gosh, how hard it is and how you have to keep it together, that's inspiring. To me, a woman who changed my life was actually many people in this room may know. Her name is Jill Marcus. She is the owner of Something Classic, and I was a 25-year-old line cook when I was working for her, and what she saw in me to give me my first executive chef role when I opened her restaurant Fern, and found a lot of success with that in the first year. That gave me confidence and changed my direction. It helped me to know, even though I had gone through all of these really difficult positions, jobs, kind of grinding my way, that just knowing that this is going to amount to something, that's what did it for me, and then just continued with that. So, yeah.
It's great, Chef. Thank you, Alyssa. The truth is, I struggled with this question too because I'm inspired by women daily. In my 30 years in television, I'd interviewed thousands of people, and oftentimes during the worst times of their lives, and was always struck by and moved by the things that we face and how we can transform pain into purpose. So those are things that are inspiring to me. But two people who directly changed my life. One, Mrs. Macedo. Mrs. Macedo was my 7th grade English teacher. And in middle school, I had kind of an unfortunate look. I had sort of like a bad perm and glasses. Michelle Eichert knows exactly what I'm talking about. And I had braces, and I had a bionator. Do you know what those were? That was to fix an overbite. So it's not like a retainer. It's like this big thing. I just talk like this. It's so bad. And so boys didn't like me. Shocking, right? And I was so unfortunate looking, but I was very sweet and very smart. And Mrs. Macedo in class one day, she says, she's talking about, it was the student council stuff, the students were running for office, and she looked at me and she said, Colleen, you should be running. And I said, why? She goes, you're the kind of person who should be running. And I said, it's just a popularity contest. To which she said, you really should. And there's something clicked in me, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to take my nerdy little self, and I'm going to make a poster. By golly, I'm going to run for vice president of the student body. And my competition was Kevin Patrick. He was a very popular, blonde, surfer-looking boy. Do you think I won? I didn't win. However, it was good for me to take the chance and be courageous and put myself out there. And even that just reminding me that we all are speaking into people's lives. Yes, I was a kid, but at any moment you can turn to the woman sitting next to you and you can offer her a word of encouragement and remind her who she is. Don't ever take for granted the importance of your words on another human being. Ever, ever, ever. That stuff sticks with you. I bet all of you in here can remember somebody who was special to you, somebody who encouraged you, somebody who believed in you, paid you the sweetest compliment you'd ever heard, and you remember it forever. So just use that as food for thought as you go about your day on this International Women's Day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Colleen. Well said. Very well said. I love the teacher stories, the mom and grandma stories. Pam, what you said reminded me of what my grandma used to say, and she would say, you walk into a room and you just fake it till you make it. If you don't know something, nobody will know, and you just pretend that you're confident. Now, girls, there are certain things we should never fake, okay? But confidence is not one of them. Thank you, Ohavia. Ohavia. Thank you. Table 6 is on the same page. Okay. Okay, final question here, ladies. We are in a community here together with each other in life, too. So we want to hear about the Charlotte community, too, how that has played out in your own lives as well. And I will start with whoever wants the mic first. How the Charlotte community has played out in your life, what it means to you, and however else you choose to interpret the question, Colleen, because I know you're going to run with it, whatever it is anyway, and kick its butt.
Are you saying I don't follow directions? I'm sorry. Do I get a little long-winded? I'm sorry. No. Okay, I do have an answer to this question. How has the Charlotte community really rallied around you? What does this community mean to you? And I will tell you what this community means to me. When I moved here in 1998, I didn't think I'd be here but 2 years. That was how long my TV contract was. I was like, I'm going to just go on and go to some big market, and I just thought I was really something special, I guess. But then I fell in love with it and fell in love with the people, and then had children here, and now I've got roots here, and this is my home. And I was really reminded of this 3 years ago. I went through a horrible, horrible event. My son, who was 16 at the time, was playing rugby and was injured, a brain injury. The long story short, he had to be airlifted to Levine Children's Hospital in Uptown, where they would perform emergency life-saving brain surgery on him. He had minutes. We were told that if the helicopter didn't get there, he would not have survived an ambulance ride from the hospital in Pineville to Uptown. So I was completely a basket case, and being told that my son might not make it, I couldn't even comprehend what was going on. It was really an out-of-body experience. And even afterward, once he survived the surgery, and it was, is he going to be himself? Will he be able to talk and walk and do all the things? I'm happy to tell you he's doing great. He's now a freshman in college, and yes, thank you. I know, thank you. That's so nice. And here's the point of the story. The reason I tell you this story was a long way to say that during that time, I received 400 to 500 handwritten cards from strangers that came to the TV station, came to my house, and I've kept every single one of them. Food would magically appear at my door. My grass got mowed. Groceries were put into my refrigerator. I mean, and it felt like love, you know, and this was from strangers. I had people praying for me. There was a church in Maryland that would write to me and say, oh, we heard about your son and we're praying for him. I mean, it was unbelievable, and I was so convicted. I felt like such a jerk because I thought I was always like a nice enough person, but I realized that would I do some of the things that people were doing for me? Like, I was nice when it was convenient to be nice. Like, if I've got time and her house is on the way, I'll drop off a dinner. And the things that people did for my family in this community changed me forever. I believe we need to be inconvenienced for people who are in pain. If you know someone in your life who is dealing with cancer, just love them. Don't pepper them with lots of weird questions like, do you want chicken or do you want steak? Just give them the meal. They don't want to answer your questions. They don't want to answer your questions. Don't tell them how your grandma's cousin did a green juice cleanse and now her cancer is cured. That's also not helpful. Just show up for people, right? Just show up and love them where they are by serving them, doing for them. Anticipate the needs of people in pain and then meet those needs. Don't ask any questions. That is, if you hear nothing else I say today, sorry I talk so much, just remember that because I think that's so important. That's what this community did for me. So I love Charlotte, North Carolina. I love the people here. And my life's work from here on out, on the back nine now at my age, but you know, is to serve other people and love people the way I was loved. Yeah.
That's so touching. I see so much opportunity here, having seen Charlotte grow just exponentially. It's just really amazing. I think if you want to forge your own path, you can do it. I think if you are looking for whatever you're looking for, continued education, you know, go finding a community of support, finding funding. There's so much here. When we started our business, we pulled on every friend, mostly local, like everybody that we could find that could give us. We were wearing so many hats, but asking for help, you know, and just continuing to build that network. There's so much here in Charlotte. I've seen so many people, whether it's starting a business and it taking another direction or taking you another direction as a stepping stone, you know, just there are so many people to put yourself out there, to connect. It's just, Charlotte just means so much opportunity for me, no matter what kind of work you're in. We're very lucky for that.
I think to follow up with what both of the ladies said, I believe in the potential of Charlotte. I'll make a very long story very short. I'll try to. I told Ohavia, I'm not good at brevity. will try to do this. So when Dustin and I moved here in 2014, we both moved here from West Virginia, a city of Charleston, West Virginia, where they really need fitness, but they're not necessarily at the place where they embrace it enough yet, I hope.
So we moved to Charlotte, and I thought, this city is healthy. Like, these people really care about their fitness. You would go anywhere on the light rail, just see people running. Like, I just wasn't used to that. Just people being outside and active. So to agree with Alyssa, the city of Charlotte has so much potential. Whatever you're thinking, this is the city to try it. At least try and forge your path, especially if it hasn't been done before. I think a lot of us up here can agree that there are so many things that we've done in our journey, in our story, that don't have a roadmap, but we know there's a conviction there for some reason. I mentioned earlier about turning my tragedy into my triumph, and I have two distinct examples where Charlotte stepped up and said, we've got you, Sydney, just keep rocking, just don't give up. The first one, I lost my younger brother to an ATV accident in 2017. He was back home in West Virginia, had just had a daughter, she just had turned 1 year old and had just gotten married as well. And I was at the point in my fitness career where I was, fully booked with clients, and I was meeting personal training clients in person. So I thought I was really crushing it, and then my brother passed away. And I remember that being that reflection moment of, what does my life even mean? What am I doing to say, this is a legacy, Sydney. This is something you can leave behind and know for sure you made an impact on the world. So in that time, there was a reflection point where we decided to take this fitness thing digital and not have just the Charlotte community, but it was inspired by the Charlotte community, because in that moment, they stepped up and created a fundraiser for my brother's daughter to have a scholarship. They just loved on me so hard, always checking in, lots of love notes as well. So agree with Colleen, love people when you aren't necessarily super close, you don't know what to say. There's nothing right you can say. You can just say, I'm here, here's chicken and steak, whatever. It's both of the things. The second example was just 1 year later, right after my brother passed away, I was actually a victim of gun violence. I was leaving my studio after we had jumped into the digital fitness world and started filming YouTube videos every single day. We just wanted to kind of find a way to stand out to the YouTube community for, making workouts accessible. We were leaving our studio, walked out of the studio, and I saw 4 guys walking up the street. And I thought, it's dark. That's weird. They're all in black hoodies. They're just like slowly looking down at the ground. So we turned to go to our car, and I hear someone whisper, don't move. And I look over my shoulder. I thought, are they talking to me? Were they talking to each other? And when I look back, I see a gun pointing at me. And so I told Dustin, hurry, get in the car. We've got to go now. And when I got in the car, I got around the car, looked back, and there were 2 guns pointing at me. They started firing. We got in the car. Dustin got us out of there. But one of the bullets did hit me. And that was another example. I know it sounds, sorry to lay that on you this morning, but it sounds really traumatic, but I'm okay. I'm just so thankful for the Charlotte community just being there for me. And just in that moment, I could have easily said, it's time to throw in the towel. I can go back to nursing school, which I left to be a personal trainer. Doesn't sound like it makes sense, but I'm much happier. But in that moment, I think Charlotte really believed in what I was trying to do. With making fitness accessible, and they supported me. They brought me food, they brought cards, and it was a pretty dark couple of months for me where I thought, if this is life, what am I doing? Am I risking everything for fitness? But I knew that conviction that I talked about earlier, I wanted to be able to be the person to say, there can be a testimony in your tragedy. And coming back from that was supported by the Charlotte community entirely. So if you're in one of those down moments, if you're in that tragedy moment or in that moment where maybe it's not as grand as what I just mentioned, but it's, this has been a really hard week, try to turn that into something that says, there's another woman looking at me right now that might be struggling as well. I'm going to show her, I'm going to show myself that we can do it. And I promise Charlotte will support you. And when you get through that, be the one to turn back and support someone else too.
I support my girls. I support my sisters. I'm going to be honest with you all. Charlotte means so very much to me, and I'm going to try my best not to cry, Paige. But Charlotte means a lot to me, and honestly, this is a prime example of why Charlotte means a lot. It's bringing together women, and not just women, but people from different industries, perspectives, backgrounds, to come together for a common good. And so I want to say thank you, ma'am, for bringing us together. But most importantly, I think it's so important, just a reminder, let us not assume, right? Let us not assume about our sisters. Let us not assume about our brothers. Let us not assume about people that we come into contact with. I can't tell you how many times, I've been guilty of it. It's like, oh, no, they're in a good spot, or no, they get it. And then there's something that happens that rocks us as a community, and then we're questioning ourselves altogether. I think a lot about our good sis Chesley Christ, and how I've been so inspired to no longer walk into assumptions anymore, you all. So just want to send some love out there. Make sure that we keep Charlotte good, but let's keep it greater. Let's leave ourselves open to uncomfortable conversations, but most importantly, getting to know people, not because of how they dress, not because of what you can see, but seriously getting to know their heart and what they want to be about and why they want to get to know you. And that's why I love Charlotte. So Charlotte definitely has a lot, but let's do more for our city and listening beyond what people look like, beyond platforms and numbers, and about impact. And that's what I love about this, and I love you, and thanks for bringing us together. And let's remember, we do this better together. We can't do it apart. So, yeah.
I don't have a dramatic personal story about Charlotte, but when I came here straight from college a while back, there was no Blumenthal Performing Arts Center. There was no McCall Center. Nobody did anything in Plaza Midwood or NoDa or South End. There were maybe 3 restaurants. I'm serious, that you would really wanted to go to. There was no Imagine On. There was no Discovery Place. There was no Gantt Center. There was so, you cannot imagine how much the city has grown. My daughter has recently moved back to Charlotte after quite a few years in Charleston, which she loved, swore she would never come back to Charlotte. And she said, Mom, it's a different city. And it is. And we're lucky to be living in it.
So one thing that I think women in Charlotte do really well is share each other's celebrations. And we've heard about a lot of different kinds of vulnerability up here. So many women I know in Charlotte are entrepreneurs. They have their own businesses. They've started from scratch. They are creative. They are so hardworking. And I love seeing you share that post, congratulating your friend, saying, look at what this woman is doing. It's incredible. You know, the moments when you really need the casseroles and you really need the love letters, you're there for that. And you're also there for the really great stuff and celebrating each other and pumping each other up. And I think that that is what makes a really true friend. So I see that a lot in Charlotte, and it makes me really proud of us.
Oh, ladies, we're okay on time, right? We're good. So, what's that? I don't know what this. Oh, Q&A. Yes, great idea. Hold on, I'm just going to switch that so I don't have to twirl in front of everyone. Does anyone have a question that they'd like to ask the panelists? As you think of a question if you'd like to, because ladies, I'd also like to tee you all up to let everybody here know how they can continue to connect with you, because if you are not connected already to all of these ladies, believe me, you need to be. They are wonderful. I know some of you personally, I know some of you only on social media, but I am so glad to be connected in all of those ways, and I would love for you all to be as well. So think of any questions right now, or would you like me to have them let you know where you can find them? Erin's okay. You get to ask whatever you want, girl. What you got?
I seriously have questions for all of you, because I've now that we've once we booked you guys, I became weirdly obsessed with all of you on social media, and I feel like I know you. But but I have a question for Colleen. I know, and not to share too much about your life, but I know that your life has changed dramatically in the past year. So I wanted to ask you kind of how you feel your life has changed for the better, and how the women around you have helped you through this time as well.
Okay, Sharon says it has changed for the better. I thought you were going to ask me where I got my outfit. Amazon, that's a true story. Amazon, girl, get out of here, right? Everyone's like, your outfit's so cute. I'm like, I got it at Amazon. Really? So there you go. Okay, Erin, what Erin's referring to, so my podcast is called Wake Up to Your Life. That is the name of the podcast, and it's quite good, actually, so I hope that you will download it. If I do say so myself, I know. But I'm very proud of it. It's the best work I've ever done. So I'm very proud of it. But I talk a lot about my own life, and it's not to overshare, but it's always to teach. And I am getting a divorce. My husband moved out of our house 11 months ago. And I know I seem like a delight, right? Like, why would he leave? I mean, I'm a delight. But, and you know, and I can joke about it now, but those first few months I was not in a good place at all. And so how has my life changed for the better? Well, Aaron asked, how did my friends come around me? If it weren't for my friends, I don't know that I would be here right now, truly. I mean, that's how dark it was. I didn't know. For any of you who've been through a divorce, I'm sorry that I wasn't more supportive of it because, you know, the process, it's difficult. But my friends have really carried me through it, literally by showing up at my house and picking me up off the floor when I'm crying and that kind of thing. So that's been incredible. How's it gotten better in my life? I still don't know the answer. I think that I'm starting to believe, here's how it's gotten better. When he first said that he wanted a divorce, I thought my life was going to be over. And now I know my life with him is over, my life isn't over. Yeah. That's growth, I suppose. And then really daring to believe that maybe I could fall in love again, and maybe I could be excited about where I'm gonna live. At first, I don't know, when you think about your future, is it terrifying or is it exciting? It's exciting for you? Okay, see, for me, it's usually terrifying. It's like terrifying. And then it became super terrifying. But now, so the way it's gotten better is that I'm believing something different. I'm believing something different. I'm seeing a light at the end of the tunnel and going, oh, a new day will dawn. I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna shop on Amazon and get cute clothes and I'm gonna be fine. And, you know, it's going to be okay. So, but I do talk about that on the podcast and sort of what I'm learning. I like to teach from the scar, not from the wound. However, I have been teaching from the wound because I'm still going through this. So forgive me for the unpolished answer. I don't normally believe in teaching from the wound because that's ugly and oozy and messy, and we don't know yet. We don't know yet until the scar has formed. But we got a little scar. A little scab at least, so I'm getting there. But thank you.
Well, I was going to say, oh, well, then I have some, but you get to ask again.
Yes. Pam, how do you feel like it has changed for women when you were 20 to how old you are now, 49?
I see women in huge positions all over Charlotte. Allie Celebron Brown at the McCall Center, the wonderful women at the Mint, in high positions. I can't think of an organization. Stand for Animals. I don't know if you know about the wonderful low-cost vet clinic. Stand for Animals. Is completely run by women. Carrie Bernstein is the head of that organization. But the Humane Society, you know, we're building a wonderful new Humane Society. I'm an animal person, you can tell, and it's a big deal. But women are super involved. And I really can't think of an organization that a woman isn't at the top, if not the very top, close to the top. And we have a black female mayor. Wow. I mean, I think Charlotte is wonderful for women. So, yay Charlotte. Yay, Charlotte.
We have time for one more question. Oh, okay. Sorry, you good? Okay. No, you're good. You're good. She said yeah.
I have a question for Michelle. I think it's obviously very important that we stand with each other as women, but it's almost more important that we show our daughters the correct example. And I have a 12-year-old, almost to be 13, so that wonderful age. And I see that you're a parenting author. What do you think is the best advice you can give for a soon-to-be teenage mother?
And the room went silent as everyone started listening very intently.
So this is going to sound like a joke answer, and it's not. The answer is get a hobby. And I really do mean that because at this age, it's your daughter's job to individuate and figure out who she is apart from you. And if you are pressing to keep really, really close while she does that, that doesn't feel natural to her. So she's going to push and push and push a little bit more. So she needs to see you living a full and whole life, having friends, going out, doing things that bring you joy, and being a model to her that mom is one job, but you have lots of other jobs and passions and interests. And you can dress up like TV characters and post your pictures on Instagram. You could do all kinds of things that are just for your own joy. And I think that's what daughters need to see moms do.
Thank you, ladies. I'm going to pass the mic down one more time quickly just so you can tell everyone where they can find you most easily and connect with you as well.
Instagram, it's just my name, Michelle with 2 L's, and my last name is Eichert. It looks like iCard. So Michelle Eichert on Instagram.
Oh dear. It's Instagram, again, Pam Low-Stowe. Pretty easy.
I am Ohavia Phillips on all things. OHAVIAPHILLIPS. So nice. Got to give 2 L's twice.
It's like really not fun following you after you answer everything. Just gonna let you go, girl. For me, it's YouTube and all the social media handles is Sydney Cummings. Our company website with our new fitness apparel line is royalchange.fit.
Instagram and Twitter at Chef Alyssa CLT. Also our website, chefalyssaskitchen.com, so you can come and cook with me and us, and also have some meals, because I like to say I am here for you if you want to cook, and I'm here if you don't. So
Instagram at Colleen_Odegaard. Best of luck to you spelling my name. Colleen_Odegaard. And Wake Up to Your Life is the name of the podcast. Hit your little podcast thing and you can follow along and catch up, and then DM me and let me know what you think.
Love it. Ladies, let's give it up for our panel, guys. Thank you all so much. If you would like to take a seat at your table down here, ladies, we are so thankful to all of these ladies for coming out here this morning. Yeah, there are stairs down here, or you can just jump down like Colleen. There we go. Wasn't that a treat to hear from all of those wonderful, wonderful women up here? I know. Yeah, give them a hand again. Well, we are here today, as we mentioned, in the company of women, to all be here together, to come into community for each other, and we are here for a very important purpose as well. And there is a very special founder and reason that we are all here for the Isabella Santos Foundation, and we would like to introduce you to her now. So please direct your attention to the screen here as we introduce you to Isabella Santos.
Okay, please tell me your name.
Isabella.
Isabella what?
Isabella Santos.
Isabella what?
Isabella Joanne Santos.
Yeah, buddy.
Hi, buddy.
I was actually really nervous about being a mom.
Isabella. Hey.
I was never that girl that loved babysitting or loved babies and couldn't get enough of it.
What do you think, buddy? Are you going to tell me a story?
I was really worried that I wasn't going to have that motherly gene, to be honest with you.
Is that good?
And then seeing her be so dependent on me or want me or have me be able to provide comfort to her when I thought I would fail miserably at this.
You gonna brush your hair? Pretty girl.
So she gave me confidence to be the mom I am today.
What do you got?
She was super theatrical. She was always singing.
I need a microphone. Let's sing the ladies. Put your hands up.
She had no shyness about her whatsoever. I think she was a little unaware of herself at times where you were like, oh my gosh, what is she doing? She didn't care who was watching her. She would go up to anybody. She had all these friends. She was so excited about school.
Yeah, and you got lots of friends at school?
Yeah.
And what about boyfriends?
Yeah.
Yeah. Lots of them?
Yeah.
treats.
She was just over the top fabulous. She was such a good baby, in fact, that by the time we hit her second birthday, I was pregnant with my next child.
Say Easter!
You know, she was everything that the book said was going to happen pretty much happened with her until it didn't. Looking back, it's easy to see the signs now. So many nights when we would put her to bed, she would say, "Mommy, can you rub my back? My back hurts." So we just kept thinking that maybe she had a bruise there or she had torn a muscle in her back or something like that. She was 2.5 at the time, so things were going on in her body that she couldn't really articulate. We went in and got routine blood work done, which came back abnormal. So she had an MRI and we were just, we had no idea what we were walking into. I don't remember too much about it. I remember what she was wearing, oddly. That's so silly.
You know, we have kind of a saying that, you know, we're the devil, right? We're the ones who walk in the room and give you the worst news, and we're there for your worst day.
I just remember being in a small room and not being at all prepared for what we were going to hear.
You know, I specialize in neuroblastoma and sarcomas, and those are the hardest diagnoses to give. Try to deliver really, really awful news in a way that doesn't come off as awful as it actually is.
And then when they told us the word neuroblastoma, I had never even heard that word before. Tell me what this is again. Tell me what this is again. What was that word again? I had to have them keep saying it.
Pediatric cancer is an incredibly rare cancer. Regardless of what cancer it is still rare. And 95% of the pie is the adult world, right? Breast, colon, prostate. And so you tell someone they've got neuroblastoma, people are like, what? What is that? Why is that? Like, where did it come from? All these things, and we just don't know the answer.
And then they take you upstairs immediately to the oncology clinic and you're sitting in a waiting room with kids with bald heads. It happened that quick.
That's all for today.
Okay. Thank you for letting me interview you today.
Okay.
All right. Bye. Can you guys do some dancing in those shoes?
Finding treatment for her back, I guess 15 years ago, is completely different than it is today.
Back then, it was a 40% survival. I mean, there were so many different questions at that time on what the right thing to do was. That for a parent in the early 2000s was just really hard.
There weren't pediatric cancer Facebook groups and all of that stuff. What you knew was what your doctor told you. Levine, of course, gave us what her treatment plan will look like, but not being offered other choices was a big issue. It was, this is your home hospital and this is where people get treated. 90% of people at that time just stayed with their doctor. They stayed where they got diagnosed and wished for the best. We did not do that. My sister at the time started researching neuroblastoma survivor stories, and she was finding that a lot of these children were going to Memorial Sloan Kettering in Manhattan.
So Sloan Kettering has been doing it different for a long time, where they don't offer stem cell transplant, they offer another drug.
They were developing a drug that they were making at Sloan because drug companies weren't making it.
There's not enough of those patients to really do rapid turnaround medicine.
So how do you make drugs for kids when there's only 600 of them in the US? That's not a profitable business to be in, and we found that out quickly.
And that was the two choices, really. That was it. The data it just wasn't out on either. And I think that for us here locally was a real challenge. You know, we didn't want her to leave and we couldn't offer things. It would suck.
Do you like going up to New York City?
Not very much.
Why?
Because I get my line and go to the doctor's every day. And I have to wake up very early, and I don't like to be waked up very early.
I think the hardest part is that life doesn't stop, right? But the world just keeps going.
So every day, all day was just me with her, up learning what we're doing, holding a vomit bucket for her, giving her medicines, sleeping in hospital beds.
We're putting central lines in you. We're giving you chemo. We're giving blood transfusions, platelet transfusions.
They would give you chemo in a backpack and be like, come back tomorrow. And I mean, I'm 28 years old with Isabella wandering through Central Park with a backpack of chemo and a vomit bucket underneath our stroller. I mean, this is how we were doing it. It's crazy.
Probably 7-10 days ago, the worst thing you could think about was, did she nap today? Did she not? You know, those simple things.
Now we touch our left foot.
Hey, how was it? Did you run the whole way?
Yes.
Yeah? All the way to the stop sign?
Isabella Santos Foundation really just started because a bunch of people wanted to come together and help and organized a 5K to bring funding and awareness to kids with rare cancers. So our main goal is to beat cancer, grow hair, and help kids live their dreams. It stemmed from Isabella. She put it out there that she was going through cancer and she didn't care. She would talk to everybody about it. She'd invite you to come to her blood drives. She would, ask you why you didn't show up at her race. They raised $7,000 that year, and we sent the money up to Sloan for neuroblastoma research. We continued it the next year and raised 16. We did it the next year and raised 52. And it just kind of started taking off.
The show that she and I went to together is definitely one of the best days that I've ever had with her, so. Oh my God.
This cancer just was relentless. It just kept coming for her.
Oh, there's a big one. It kind of is like a bomb goes off. You have a tumor somewhere and then it's everywhere. It's in your bones, it's in your bone marrow. It's just hard to kill.
They kept telling us, we don't know what else to do for her, so we're gonna throw the kitchen sink at her, which pretty much means we're gonna almost kill your kid, but not kill her, and then bring her back.
She took hit after hit after hit and just kind of kept smiling. She was pretty amazing.
It was just absolutely incredible what this kid had to go through.
Looking a parent in the eye and telling them there's nothing else we can do is hands down the worst part of the job, and just takes a little bit out of you every single time.
By the time that this was her maybe 5th or 6th relapse, she was tired. And we were tired. And we had gone to Philadelphia. We had tried experimental drugs. There was nowhere else for us to go. We just kept hoping. You talk to other neuroblastoma families and they're like, well, we hear a vaccine's coming, we hear this is coming. So you're just waiting. You're hoping something will get approved, something will get funded. Can she just hold on long enough to get this next thing? And she just couldn't. So I think at the end, she didn't want to go anymore. And I feel bad saying that we didn't either. It got to the point where we had just put her through too much. And I just don't think any of us would survive putting her through something else. So it just took over quick at the end. We just didn't have any other options.
Where shall I go?
Very nice.
I think my advice for women, don't let something horrible in your life define you. So I think when people meet me, they're like, I cannot believe you had a child that passed away from cancer, and I take pride in that because that doesn't define who I am. It's just part of who I am. So anyway, so thank you so much.
So when we decided to keep the foundation going after she passed away, we were raising about $100,000 a year and just having a 5K, and it just continued to grow. We would do events, and I look back and think about me standing up at a podium, and I mean, I was just an absolute disaster.
And yeah, I know, let's just get this party started.
I had buried a daughter less than a year ago, and I'm up on stage asking a bunch of women to donate to rare pediatric cancer, and people were doing it.
I think the Aarons of the world are rare, incredibly rare. I don't know if I could tell that story over and over again. She's probably shed more tears in a lifetime.
This thing really came to be because it was how I was grieving. The women that surrounded us were just like, you know, you're who I would want to be if I had gone through this, which was such an inspiring thing for me to say because I felt like I was falling apart.
If you've ever heard Erin talk or her team talk, it's real. And I think they've been able to channel that, and they've been able to get people to tell stories like this. And I don't think our community was really listening, you know, or hearing before.
Last year I had leadership coaching, which is horrible. And she told me that I was one of the only people, male and women both, that almost scored perfectly in aggressiveness and dominance and intimidation. But I think sometimes it's okay to be scary as a woman, because that's how you get shit done.
And it just became something where we're raising $1 million, $2 million a year.
My hope is to be able to talk to each of you a little bit about what ISF does.
Together, we can make twice the impact for kids with rare pediatric cancers here in Charlotte and international.
So sometimes I think impact isn't about raising money, but it's really just doing the right thing.
We really kind of take pediatric cancer here in Charlotte, especially rare cancers, under our wing.
And we're just trying to do everything we can for the local community. A wonderful organization right here in our own backyard.
Thank you, Erin, for being here tonight and for continuing to share your story. We certainly appreciate that.
Keep fighting the fight.
Thank you. Thanks for checking in.
I love my team. My team has been with me forever. The initial stages of having employees on ISF was moms showing up after they had dropped off their kids from preschool in workout clothes, sitting around my dining room table, having coffee with a whiteboard and kind of being like, what do we want to talk about today? So it was as grassroots as you could possibly get. They knew her, they knew me, they knew my family, they know these other children. We have just become a band of sisters.
Most of these organizations come out of the gate firing 1, 2, 3 years and then they fizzle. You know, to get from there to here, and it's a testament to her and her team. Don't tell her I give her a compliment.
Dr. Osterheld is an amazing man. He was one of Isabella's oncologists out of the gate, who I've had a very interesting relationship with over the course of 15 years.
It took a long time, that relationship, let's be honest. First interaction probably wasn't so hot. We struggled a little bit with our communication, and I was really young.
I was a squeaky wheel for him, and I did not give him an inch.
She was fierce. She just wanted the best things for her daughter, and she didn't care what you told her and how you said it. And I think she turned that fierceness and that drive into ISF.
But as I started to get myself together and think about where I wanted to take this, he was becoming one of the best oncologists ever.
And so we just started talking a lot. And really when it caught fire was we had a conversation about building this room called MIBG, which is a lead-lined room. I don't think it was, the conversation lasted, it felt like 30 seconds, and somehow Erin signed a deal that we were gonna build this room and they were gonna support it.
That was our first big step, was to raise $1 million. And to have that treatment room so people would not have to leave.
That put us really squarely on the map. They knocked it out of the park and then they were like, well, what's next? And let's keep going.
Let's think pie in the sky. What is the best thing that we could do? And he said to build a program here in Charlotte for rare cancers. We committed $5 million over the course of 5 years to build that. So now I see him as a colleague, and anything that he believes in, I believe in.
We're kind of forever tied, right? And our successes are their successes, and I love that. And now, they're funding so much for us and have put the Rare and Solid Tumor Clinic in a different stratosphere over the last, 2 to 3 years.
We brought in the top doctor for rare cancers here to Charlotte. And since then, we have seen this program double. She's building a team around her. She has a lab with her. So now that we're doing clinical trials for rare cancers, and that's never been done here in Charlotte.
The physicians that are here now are, world-renowned. I hate that word, but it's true.
We have kids coming from 24 different countries around the world.
Patients from South Africa, Australia, Germany, you name it. It's like the United Nations in our clinic now, and I love that.
We try to provide a 360-degree support for all families going through cancer and really just building something amazing here in Charlotte.
This week, Levine Children's Hospital was named one of the best in the country for its pediatric cancer, cardiology, and neonatal care.
It has the area.
We are blessed here, to be honest. Lots of groups across the country envy us and all of the support that we have, just because it takes a lot of people to get a kid through cancer. That wouldn't have happened. We wouldn't be the main institution for a 60-plus consortium. We wouldn't have our lab doing tumor samples every day and taking patients' tumors and growing them and doing all this exciting work, because we just wouldn't have been able to fund it. ISF and everything that they've provided to us just allows us to push medicine and push boundaries, to be in the conversation of moving science forward. And we're doing that. And I think without ISF, we couldn't, period.
We have the same mission, and that is to make Charlotte one of the best places in the world to go for rare cancers.
We are a wonderful program for many, many reasons, but we are not even remotely close to where we want to be. I think the rarity, the harshness of the chemo, how sick these kids get, the need for every person in the hospital to touch these kids. How do we continue that moving forward?
We're getting flooded with calls. We're getting flooded with patients. We don't have enough doctors to serve the kids that want to come here for something that you have built. So when I look at just, I can't wait till we pay off this $5 million, I think what's coming behind that is going to just blow us all away, and we don't even know it's there yet.
So the Isabel Santos Foundation is, it's going to sound so cheesy, but in one word, it's hope, right? It's allowing us to, push the envelope pretty hard here. They really care about you, right? ISF really does care. There's a lot of heart behind it.
There is so much going on in our world today that rare pediatric cancer is never anybody's hot button. These rare cancers, they come in, your kids live less than a year, the families are just heartbroken, destroyed. They don't want anything to do with this, and they move on. So I think if people knew what was happening and what we as a group of women were trying to do, they would say, are you kidding me? How can I be involved? When you give money to ISF, you can see it. You can go up to the hospital. You can meet the doctor that you paid for. You can meet the family that you just paid to have their personalized medicine delivered to them. We're doing everything we can to make lives better, and every dollar that you give does that. I've been blown away at watching the transformation of care for kids with rare cancers just in the last 10 years. When we were diagnosed and hearing 40%, that is a horrible number to hear. The number is closer to 60, 70, approaching 80, dependent on what treatment plan and what your child's cancer looks like. That's an incredible number to get, and I think that's what we're providing.
What would I tell Isabel if she were here today? Not a lot of curse, but your mom's kind of a bad blank.
Look at what Mommy and all of her friends did for you and your friends.
Look what you made. Look what you created. Look what your legacy brought.
Her legacy will outlive me, which is what every parent wants, right?
I know it was hard, but you change lives.
There's nothing better to live for. Giving families a chance almost makes her death worth it. It feels good, but it also feels bad, because I wish we were benefiting from it. But it makes me happy that through her death, somebody else is living, which is what we should all want, I guess, right? Yep.
It's a tough video to watch, guys, I know, and just imagine what it was to live through, what it is to live through. Thank you so much all for being here today and for watching that with us. You know, sometimes you want to just make a joke and break the tension after something like that, right? And sometimes you just kind of got to let it sit and feel all of what that video made all of us feel right now, because that is why we are here today, is to provide hope and to provide healing, hopefully, for other families who are going through that, okay? I will say I don't know why any of us bothered to put on mascara this morning. That's gone at this point, right? So let's just kiss that goodbye. We would like to bring Erin Santos up to stage right now to hear more about how we can all partner in this and to hear a little bit more just about you in general. Erin, I can help you this way, or we can, there we go. You're a bad blank, as he said. I know you'll just jump right up here. Yes, give Erin a round of applause, guys. Thank you. Well, to have put on such an event as this and to come up with this idea, especially today, you know, that comes from somewhere for you too. So also, I'd love to hear from you. I know we all would. Where does that come from for you? Is there a woman in your life that stands out in terms of inspiration for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, like most people, it's my mom. My mom, I mean, when we were diagnosed, she was outside the hospital door while we were hearing the news, and I didn't even know she was there. Like, she lives in Michigan. I mean, she had driven down. Anytime we relapsed, our doorbell would ring at 6 a.m. and she was there. She came and lived with us. She pretty much raised my son, who's getting himself together from that video. I'm sorry, babe. But, you know, I mean, she pretty much raised my kids while we did all of this. And still even today, I mean, I know she's tuned in. She's in Ohio right now. But not everyone gets to say their mom, so I feel so privileged that I do get to say that.
And I know that you are surrounded by, of course, how many women are here today? What did we have our head count to? Almost 300 today. I know. More than 300, I believe, will be here tomorrow as well. We're switching you out. There were so many people that wanted to come. And I know there's an even smaller group of women that has been instrumental in your life. You talked about them a little bit in the video as well, gathering around your dining room table, which, by the way, did you notice how fabulous her dining room table is as well? So will you tell us a little bit about that community?
Yeah, so everyone has people around them. But, you know, when I talk about the fact that my mom would show up, my team showed up. Some of the women on my team, I mean, I look at Rachel back there. I mean, Rachel flew back and forth with me to New York City and heard words like, you know, your journey is over. She has a brain tumor. And, you know, having those people sit there with you and then also work alongside this. I mean, these people, you know, my mom comes because that's her blood. Isabella was not their blood. So, I mean, to have people in your life that surround you, and, you know, some of these women on my team never even met her, and they have adopted her as their own. And I think even, you know, I mean, I think of like board members and, you know, I mean, my fiance today has never even met her, but I mean, talk about like people that support you in your life that are just amazing. And this team, they work on soccer fields, they work on their vacations. This mission of hers became theirs. So I just think the success of this is entirely due to them. I'm just the only one that's willing to talk on stage at this point. So.
Well, we want to bring some other special folks here up on stage as well, because what we are here today to support is such a crucial mission. And Erin, I wonder if you'll explain a little bit more about that for people. Any first-timers here, for ISF first-timers, your first event? Oh, great. Put your hands up high. Yeah, we'd love to know you and see who you are. Wonderful. Thank you so much. We are so happy to have more and more people becoming a part of this. And because of that, will you just sort of explain also, you put it in layman's, you're very good at dumbing things down, which I appreciate very much. And you kind of dumbed this down for me a couple months ago in terms of really the exciting things that are happening in Charlotte.
So back in the day when we were diagnosed, you're diagnosed and you get a standard out-of-the-box care. You have neuroblastoma, this is your treatment plan. And when that doesn't work, we're going to try this. We're going to try this. That's where you hear in the video that they threw the kitchen sink at her, which was the most unbelievably toxic chemos because they didn't know what else to do. So imagine just if that's your kid where they're just like, we don't know, so we're going to try this. That's kind of how it used to be. Here's the great thing. They are developing something called personalized medicine, and it's so ridiculously simple. When your child is now diagnosed, they take a tumor sample, spit it through a computer, and find out what drugs work for that tumor. Is that crazy? Like, what a crazy thing to think to do that we should have been doing forever. And every time that they do it, your data goes into the database and helps kids behind you. The craziest part is insurance doesn't cover it. That's insane to me. It's increasing survivor rates for kids by 10, 20, 30%. That's ridiculous. Do you know how much it cost? $1,500 a kid. So when we found out about this, we reached out to Levine and said, listen, we're building this rare and solid tumor program. Every kid that comes here, we're paying for it. I'm no longer letting kids come here and letting them throw whatever they want at them against the wall. That's not going to happen anymore. So it's really nothing else for your kid. I mean, they're having their tumor sample taken anyway. There's no additional things that they're putting them through. And the great thing is we actually have a mom here today that is in from out of town, and her son is going to be receiving his personalized treatment plan today. So I'm going to invite her up on stage and let her tell a little bit of her journey as well. This is Jamie. So Jamie, I'm going to let you tell everybody a little bit about who you are, where you're from, about your son, and kind of what his journey is, and kind of where that's brought you to today.
Okay, I was doing really good before the video. So I'm Jamie Hansen. My son Eli is sitting over there at table 2, waving. He is 10 years old, and we are from a suburb of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So we've traveled a distance to get here. Eli was diagnosed with neuroblastoma almost 6 years ago. He had just turned 4 at the time. I remember actually being in the hospital. We have 5 kids. I was giving birth to my 5th, and the kids came to meet the new little baby, and I was like, Mom, you need to take him to the pediatrician. Does he have strep? I don't know what's going on. And so that sort of just kind of snowballed. I'll spare you all the details, but when our newborn was 2 weeks old, Eli was diagnosed with stage 4 neuroblastoma. So it's been a ride. He went through a year and a half of the conventional treatment that you have neuroblastoma, you're at a COG hospital, Children's Oncology Group, which is the hospital in Milwaukee, and this is your treatment. So that's what we did. And then at the end of that treatment, we were fortunate enough to meet Dr. Scholler. We traveled to Michigan, about 5 hours, and we would go see her for what we hoped would be like a maintenance style treatment to keep him in remission. Unfortunately for him, he relapsed the first time a year into that. And that kind of began our journey of just grasping straws and trying. We have been to New York and Chicago and did some more treatment at home, and now we're here. So thankful to be back with Dr. Scholler, and just really, really, really hopeful that what they can learn about Eli's specific cancer will be helpful for him, and it just gives us so much hope, and we're so thankful.
So Giselle Scholler, since we're talking about badass women, I'm going to have you stand, because I always say whatever you do in life is not as important as what she does, because she is an amazing, yes. So we brought Giselle in, I guess, almost 2 years ago. We stole her from Michigan, and she is the top pediatric doctor in the country, and we bought her and got her here. So we are so thankful that she's here. The stuff that she's doing is absolutely amazing, and so many of the people that that went to her followed her. I shouldn't have said bought you. That's been... We did whatever it took to get her here. I'll say that tomorrow. But she's developed amazing drugs. Her children have followed her from Michigan. People are coming from 24 different countries to Charlotte for kids like Eli whose parents have said, stop. figure out what's best for him, and let's do that first instead of throwing the kitchen sink at him. So that's what we're trying to raise money for today. It's $1,500 to help one kid. They anticipate about 200 kids coming to Charlotte this year to get that. So that's about $250,000 that we're trying to raise to do that. And the crazy thing is that there aren't very many other hospitals in the country where you can even get it. So that's why we're trying to make Charlotte a center of excellence for rare kids' cancer. So that's what you guys are being a part of. You're not only bringing the best doctors here and the best labs, but now kids are coming from everywhere, which are bringing better doctors and now the best treatments. That's absolutely crazy, right? And it's happening in Charlotte. Like, we're not New York City, this is Charlotte. And it's happening because of women who write $100, $250, $500, $20,000 checks. It's women that are actually doing this. I love all the men in here, but it really is the women, because you guys understand, if that were my kid, what would I want somebody to do? And that's what we do for each other.
And you talked about this again a little bit in the video, but I think just to kind of give perspective to folks also, one of the numbers you threw out was 40% chance, right, when Isabella was diagnosed, and now that those numbers are getting better. They're certainly not where they need to be, but can you talk a little bit about also the difference between kind of then and now because of the change that money, right, dollar bills make all the difference in this?
I mean, I think of all of the treatments that we put her through. We went to New York, which I'm sure you did as well, where, you do treatments called 3F8, where they say it's like watching your child be set on fire. And she received it 45 times in her life. I mean, that's absolutely insane. Now, I know that treatment works for a lot of kids, but wouldn't it be better to find out if it does before you have to do that? I'm always hesitant to say that she would be alive today, but I'll tell you what, she'd have a freaking shot. Because she kept fighting it. So I'm sweating through this dress that someone let me borrow. So anyway, I just think that that's absolutely amazing. I think that, the side effects that you have from treatment, these kids can't, our infertility, hearing aids, other cancers, all of the things that we're doing to the kids that we could be taking off the table. Why in God's name are we not doing that?
All right, we want you to look on your tables, move your plates, open your programs there. I know some of you have been looking up at the screen right now, and Erin, you went into this a little bit in terms of the amounts, different amounts, and really kind of what those things do. I love it when Erin nerds out. Y'all, she is a hot mama up here, okay? And there's nothing better than a hot lady who can just really nerd it out for you too and break things down and some of the science part of it. So it is interesting for people to know, again, dumb it down for us, but break down a little bit about the cost here for us and really what that does.
So it's pretty simple math. $1,500 pays for one kid. That's it. It's not $1,600. It's not $2,000. We're not going to come back to you again for it. They're sequenced right at the beginning, and that's it. That becomes their treatment plan, which is pretty amazing. So, you can pay for one kid, 2 kids, 3 kids, 4 kids. You can see a little star there that if you pay for 2 children, you're a part of something called our 3 Wish Society, which kind of gives you an insider access to all things ISF. You meet the doctors, you meet the families, stuff like that. That's why that's denoted up there. But if you can't do that, just be a part of what we're doing. Be a part of the general fund. We're building a rare and solid tumor program here, and if that's not something that you're able to do today, I get it. So we would just want you to be a part of what we're doing, just period, because there's so many other things. There's great doctors. Like I said, they just came to us fourth quarter last year and said, we have too many kids, we don't have enough doctors. Okay, how much is a doctor? $160,000. Great, then we'll pay for it. So those are the things that your general fund goes to as well. So we help family services, we pay for trials, we pay for doctors. But the thing we're really trying to do today is this personalized medicine, and it's so easy to be a part of it. You can do a monthly donation, quarterly donation, anything, and every single bit counts. I think that's what I love about us is that, I don't care how much you give, it's going right up there and making a difference. So yeah, I don't know how nerded out that was.
No, that was very helpful. And I just want to point out also, and maybe you can expand on this a little bit in terms of your experience with Eli, because ladies, the thing about this, and Erin has stressed this, but it really, really hit home with me the first time you were explaining this to me too. This is our opportunity in our city to say to the rare cancer community, come to us here. We've got you. We are taking care of you. We are going to cover you. We're going to get you the healing that you need. We're going to do the research. We're going to get the treatment. And Charlotte, the Queen City, this is the way that we can do that. You know, the money comes in from everywhere, right? All over the world, of course, for cancer donations. But we live here. When someone is coming in from another state and they're coming into our city, we hope certainly that you are feeling that love from everybody here as well. Can you talk a little bit about the you know, you mentioned in the video again, Erin, from your perspective, being in Central Park and the things that people don't see about what's going on. I think it would be just really powerful for people to hear the experience of not even being in your home where we are here and you're here for this.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a challenge to travel. Just leaving the other kids behind, you know, missing out on their activities, trying to balance other siblings' needs with what's best for your child with cancer, of course, is a challenge, I think, for any mom. But we are very fortunate that every time we've had to travel, we've had really good experiences. We have done the Central Park thing as well. Sounds great in theory. Yeah. You know, I think something that's amazing about Eli and so many of the kids that we come into contact with is they just want to be normal kids and they just want to keep living their life. And so even if they say, I'm feeling good, I think their threshold of good is so different compared to the rest of ours. You know, on our worst day might be good to them. And so they just want to keep going. And, you know, he wants to experience things and see things. Yesterday, we had a very long day at the hospital, but we were so excited just to go to Freedom Park. And is everyone familiar with that? We were not. But it was so fun. That Ninja Warrior course that you have right by the playground was amazing. He did it 4 times. And, you know, it was just so fun to just, you know, find the bright light in all of this and just find the fun things that the different communities have to offer that can kind of keep us going and keep the energy up for the not so fun stuff that we have to do.
Do you guys have any questions? Anybody have any questions here? Erin, is there, what else do you want to leave folks with here? I mean, we want to just be sure that everything's kind of hitting home here, and certainly you've done that. Is there anything else that you want to share with folks other than asking them for lots and lots and lots of money?
No, I think that's actually just kind of why we wanted to do this today, is just show the power of women in a room together. So, I mean, I know that as much as I love raising money, I mean, seeing the speakers, I do want to thank all of you guys for coming up and speaking. I thought you guys were amazing. And I think it just goes back to that every woman is trying to make a difference. So, and I think that's why I love all of them so much, is because they're all just doing such amazing things and letting us know that we can also do the same. So.
Ladies, do not feel rushed. Take your time at your table, please, to fill out your papers there. We're also going to give you more wine before you leave as well. So don't leave just yet. But thank you to our panelists. Again, as you said, Erin, thank you all. Thank you so much for being here. Thank all of you for being here. And I am going to pick one last number here. Oop, thank you. Before we head, there we are, Maitland, thank you. Grab your tickets out. 223-4144. 223-4144. There we go, our final winner. If you have won any of the wine, please see one of the ladies in the purple shirts with the ISF Foundation and talk to them. And also, table captains, raise your hand at your table if you're a table captain, please. Find who the table captain is at your table and be sure that they get your paperwork when it's filled out. You can also put it in the white manila envelope that is on your tables there. And you can also find anybody in a purple shirt, right, to do exactly that. Ladies, thank you so much. Everybody at home, thank you for being with us. When you leave, one final note for traffic. As you leave, please, please, please listen to this and please follow this direction, if nothing else. As you leave the parking lot, please only turn to the right. If anybody tries to turn to the left, we will be here until next Tuesday. So everyone turn to the right and figure out the rest of your directions after that. Waze will tell you where to turn around. Yeah, there you go. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.